Malo everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Loose Lips with Liku. Now, a little bit different this week in terms of the podcast and this episode. Now, a couple of the guests I'm trying to get on are super busy people and their working lives, etc. So, we're going to do something a little bit different. This week's podcast is all about the host. It's all about me. Now, a lot of people ask me loads of questions, especially in my job as a teacher. Loads of people ask me about myself, and so hopefully this podcast will give you a bit of an insight into me, how I was as a pupil, how I was as a student, and how I'm trying to submit and try and push that across to the students that are in front of me. Also learn a bit about my foray into rugby and a little bit on how I also came out of rugby and what I've had to do to ensure that I'm now in a secure position in terms of being in a job, etc. Because it wasn't all plain sailing. So, hopefully, you enjoy this week's episode. I'm also going to be dropping a couple of the names of guests that are hopefully going to come on the podcast throughout this episode. So, keep your ears open, okay? Ready for those to be dropping. Now, a little bit about me. So, I am just your average bloke, born in Billinge, grew up in Lee, and then currently live in Warrington. There's nothing exciting, etc. about me. So one of the questions that I've been asked quite a few times is, why am I actually doing this podcast? So why am I adding this on top of my huge workload that I have as a teacher? So the reason why I'm doing this podcast is very simple. I just want to get to know people. Like, I've got so many different contacts in not only the sporting world, but the teaching world. I want to get to know them a little bit more. Kind of, to coin a phrase from Shrek, great film, it's like an onion. I want to peel back the layers. I want to get to know different people. I want to know what they've done to become successful. What have they done to get to what they believe to be success in their life? Have they gone through trials, tribulations to get to that point? Okay. And also why I'm doing it is because I just love having a good chat and getting to the bottom of things, getting to know people, etc. Okay. So as you already know, my job, I'm a teacher. Okay. I am a teacher of maths and I absolutely love teaching maths. I can also teach PE. So a lot of my post 16 was in PE, and I'll delve into that a little bit deeper later on in the pod. But no, I think apart from trying to go and play rugby, teaching was always the one for me. I think it was always something that I almost fell into with what I did at post 16. So again, we'll come back to that in a moment. So this is the point in the podcast where we'll forget about me. We've done the introduction. So now we'll look at you as a pupil. Okay. So I've been really having to wrap my brains about this because I've been out of school now nearly 13 years. So I've had to really think back and question, what was I like at school? Okay. Now, my teachers may have a different opinion on this, but I honestly believe when I was at school, I was a well-behaved lad. I rarely got into trouble. I was well-mannered, I believe. I was well-behaved. I was kind. I had a bit of a laugh with my mates. I try and say this to my students as well. It's having that fine balance of knowing when it's time to have a laugh, have a joke with your mates, etc., and when it's time to work. Now, I'm going to big me and my mates up on this one. When we were at school, we knew, especially towards the back end of school, so year 10, year 11, we knew when it was time to have a laugh and have a joke, whether it's between ourselves, whether it was the rapport we had with our teachers, or whether it was, like I said, between ourselves. And we knew when we could have a laugh and a joke. We knew when we had to work, we had to knuckle down. So yeah, I would always say that. At school, I was a rugby captain, so I'll never forget one of my first days at my old high school, Bedford High School, brilliant high school, and I absolutely loved my time at school. I thought it was brilliant, and I'll never forget one of the first days. So we was in PE, one of the first ever PE lessons I had, and there were three male members of staff. There was Mr. Thompson, head of PE. There was Mr. Drinnen, who I'm going to get onto a little bit later, and then Mr. Howarth. Now, Mr. Howarth, I believe, was in his last year of teaching when I was in year 7. And you can ask anybody who went to Bedford High School from early 2000s right the way back through even probably to the early 80s. Ian Howarth was one of those teachers that was straight down the line. There was no grey area with him. It was black or white. And I remember being sat there as a little chunky year 7 kid, sat in the changing rooms, absolutely scared to death. I was so nervous. Yeah, it was ridiculous, the nerves that were going through me as a kid. Now, a lot of people think that with where I am now, I'm quite a confident person, I'm quite an extrovert, but no, back in that day, I was nervous as hell. Sat there, and they were going through the register, and in our year group, there were names that were synonymous with rugby. So, for example, and I'll use him as an example because I know he won't mind me using him. So, a good friend of mine, Adam Whiteside, his dad was synonymous with playing at Lee East. So, you knew about Adam's dad, Sean, playing at Lee East. The Brennan twins, Piers and Dalton Brennan, the dad played at Lee East. Brian, the brother Leon, not only played at Leeds but also played for North Wales Crusaders as well later on in the early to 2010s. So you kind of got that feeling of Ian Howarth knew who the rugby lads were. He knew exactly who they were. So as Mr. Thompson's going through the register, he turns around and he's looking at who's putting their hands up. And then Mr. Thompson goes, Elliot Liku. So I go, dead quiet, dead shy, like, yes, sir. Ian Howarth comes around the corner, looks at me, and then goes, Liku? I go, yes, sir. He goes, definite rugby lad you are. I can see last name, definitely synonymous with rugby, isn't it, lad? I said, yes, sir, dead nervous. And that was it then. He kind of almost settled me down, and he said, like, oh, welcome to Bedford, lad. You'll do all right. And then that was it then. So I kind of settled into school then, and then my life became so much better in terms of high school. I became more confident. I grew into being in high school. And I would like to say I was hardworking. Like, me and my mates, we were kind of, it's a horrible American phrase, but we were almost like sporty, clever. Like, we were sporty lads, but we were clever lads as well. So we had a lot of the top set lads were in the football team, the rugby team, and the kind of core lads built up those sports teams. So we were all hardworking. We cracked on. We had a laugh and a joke. I'll never forget the time that me, Piers, and Dalton, we were in year 7 and we played Manhunt in school because we were there doing the open evening and they were doing the talks and whatnot. So me and the lads were just as you did, but because we were trusted, we knew that we could be able to be like that and we could be ourselves, and like they didn't kind of put us in a box almost and say, right, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like, we grafted, we worked hard, but we weren't regimented, and it was lovely to be who you were and who you wanted to be. That's me as pupil now. So I would then, with every podcast every guest that comes on, I'd always ask them, did any teacher inspire you back in the day at school? Now, I would say that definitely 2 teachers inspired me massively when I was at high school. The first one was my math teacher, Mr. Wilkinson, John Wilkinson. Now, I am again these two teachers. I'm quite lucky to call them friends because I kept in contact with them after school. Now, John Wilkinson is one of the cleverest men I've ever met in my life in terms of maths. He got me through maths, year 10. He got me so I had to sit my GCSE maths in year 10 because there was they coined the phrase gifted and talented or whatever. So I had to basically sit my GCSE maths in year 10. Now, I would never have got the grade that I got if it weren't for John Wilkinson. Guaranteed. Made he made maths so easy. The concepts, even the more difficult stuff, he made it so easy to understand. And I would never have got the grade I got without him. So it was kind of hand in hand, really, that what he did for me in maths kind of inadvertently got me to where I am today. And I'll develop that a little bit. Plus, as well, with Mr. Wilkinson, he was on my teacher training year as well. And I was privileged enough to be in his department in my first 6 months of my teacher training. So, yeah, he really inspired me, not only as a pupil, but then as a teacher as well. And then the next one, who I genuinely class this bloke as a really, really close friend, and it's the man himself, Rob Drinnan. Now, Bedford High School, whoever you are, whether you were there from 2000 to now, 25 years, in 25 years, you will have come across this man, Rob Drinnan. Now, I cannot speak highly enough of this man. I can't. He is such a brilliant bloke. He's the guy that inspired me to become a teacher, first of all. So when I was, again, I'll go into this later, but he inspired me to become a teacher, to help students get better, to help students become better people, not only better academically. He's the one bloke that embodies students first. Now, in teaching, every teacher out there puts students first. This bloke epitomizes that, and then some. He's the kind of embodiment, he's the definition of putting students first. This is how good this bloke is. So after every rugby game, when I was in high school, and he probably did it beforehand, and he still does it now, I know for a fact he does. He takes every single student, he drives them round, all round Lee, drops them off on the street after a rugby match so that he knows that they are home safe and sound. Now, if that's not putting students first, then I don't know what is. So he literally not only inspired me to become a teacher, he also inspired me to be better just as a person in general. And that was during school. And then I was lucky enough, again, I'll come on to this later, that I was lucky enough to then work under his mentorship. And wow, again, to not only to see what he does, and it's nothing special, it's nothing groundbreaking, it's genuinely just being a brilliant human being with a heart of gold that always puts students first. Now, those two men inspired me massively. And there's not to say other teachers didn't. I had brilliant teachers, and that came from my love of the subjects. So obviously I love PE and maths. They were my two subjects. But I also love geography. Mr. Monaghan was awesome geography teacher. There was a little bit of a link there with the rugby as well, but he honestly, the passion he had for geography was fab, and it came across to me, and I built that rapport with him, and I absolutely love geography. I also loved English as well, English language more than English literature. English language was kind of the thing, and when I was thinking about what I wanted to do, and I'd probably thought about this more towards the end of my rugby career rather than after school, English language I wanted to kind of explore that when I was going to college, but then I'll explain that in a moment. Just going back to being a rugby, so rugby was obviously a thing I'm going to go into in a moment, but the one story that Rob won't mind me telling. So I was in year 7. I was quite a big kid. I was quite a big lump in year 7, and we was doing rugby on the AstroTurf one day. Now this was because the weather was awful when we did rugby during the winter, so we did one session on the AstroTurf, and I'll never forget it. Rob Drinnan was explaining to my group about the play of the ball in rugby league. Like, you don't look down when you go into the play of the ball. You keep your head up and you're scanning, you're looking, because you know where you're going to pass it to. So he turned around to me, he picked me out and went, because he knows I play rugby and whatnot, and they'd picked me as the rugby captain. So he went, Elliot, can you do me a massive favour? Can you show me what would happen if you went into the play of the ball at the dummy half and you didn't look up? So I thought, me being me, I went full tilt. I went 100%. And I kid you not, I whacked him so hard. I thought, oh my God, I've really hurt him. I thought, that's it. I'm going to be in detentions for weeks and weeks on end. I'm going to be in isolation. And he did 2 backward rolls along the AstroTurf. And I believe, even if you know him, you'd have to ask him this. I'm sure his neck was still bad for another 10 years. And I thought, oh my God, what have I done? I've really hurt my favourite teacher here. I've really done something bad. But he took it like a champion. He didn't have a go at me. He was just Rob Drinnan. He just accepted and just went, that's why you need to make sure you're looking up when you get to the play of the ball. I've got millions of stories I could go through about school, because we had such... I always say my year group was one of the best year groups. And I know I'll have mates that are older than me, mates that are younger than me, that'll argue that point. But yeah, we had a really good year group that year. And the other thing as well, parents' evenings. So whenever we did a parents' evening, we used to do it in the sports hall. Now, it was big sports hall with all the tables set out, all the teachers in one place. And the head teacher, Mr. Preston, God rest his soul, used to sit right at the entrance to wherever all the parents were coming in and whatnot. So we'd totter off and go and see my first appointment, and my dad would just stay there. Now I'm thinking, hang on, where's my dad? He's still talking to the head teacher, and he's getting to know the head teacher. And I'm thinking, oh my God, my dad's speaking to the head teacher. What is going on here? Why is he doing this? Please don't embarrass me, Dad. Please, please, please. But he loved talking to my dad, did Mr. Preston. And again, Rob and Mick used to, Mr. Thompson, Mick Thompson, what a guy, used to always take the mick and say, you used to know when you turned up, Elliot, to parents' evening? I used to go, why? They went, because the lights went out. I went, no, they didn't. They went, they did. When your dad used to walk through the door, oh, the lights you'd go out, he's massive. And it always used to be a running joke that all the way through school and whatnot. But no, it was brilliant and I loved it. Actually, I want my students to be now when I'm teaching. I want my students to have that love for being in school, being around the mates, building rapport with the teachers, and having a love for the subjects that they're in. So yeah, it is what it is. So for me, we're now going to go on to life after school. So I finished my last GCSE, and what do I do from there? What is going on? So throughout my high school life, I was quite lucky at the fact that I was on the Sale Sharks scholarship. So I joined Sale Sharks scholarship when I was 12, right the way through. So start of year 8, year 9, year 10, year 11. And I was lucky enough to play against some brilliant teams, like some players that have now gone on and had illustrious careers in the Premiership or gone playing for the country, etc. That I didn't even probably know about at the time. So that was kind of my driving force. I know there was always a story at school that I was asked by my head of maths, what did I want to be when I grew up? Now this was to my context of the story. So we was asked to do after school maths in year 10, year 11. Because we'd done our GCSEs, we were asked to do after school maths for what we were going to be doing in year 11. Now, me and my mates, so me and 5 other lads, we were gathered in this room and we were asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? So I said, blatantly, as brazen as you like, I want to be a professional rugby player. And that was it. I didn't want to do anything else. And then the follow on from that kind of, well, what about this? What about that? Why have you not? Why do you feel think about this? No, I didn't really think about that at the time. I'm a 15-year-old lad that just all I wanted to do was play rugby. Like my dad was professional, played for his country. I just wanted to play rugby. That was it. So we came to the day of, so we had our trial game under 16s. So we had our kind of trial game against each other with a few of the kind of under 18s that were fed in as well. I did all right actually in the trial. I made a few good hits. I actually scored in the trial as well. It was distinct. I'll never forget it. But then I was brought into a meeting, and I was released. Now, the guy who ran the meeting, Darren Abram, who I respect highly, he's one of the best coaches I've ever had. Went through that period. I was dejected. I was heartbroken because I thought, oh my days, that's it. That's my rugby career done. And I didn't take anything seriously in terms of revision. Like, don't get me wrong, I was quite a clever lad. I was quite bright, but I wish I'd have obviously done more revision and took it a bit more seriously because my talent only got me so far academically. Don't get me wrong, I passed all my GCSEs and I did really, really well, but I know I could have done more. But I was that fixated on my goal of becoming a rugby player, nothing else really mattered. So during that GCSE period, yeah, I was through the floor. I was gutted. I didn't know what to do in terms of that. I thought that's it. I'm kind of done. And then, lo and behold, on the off chance, and then this is one of them weird stories that people won't think it is genuinely true, and I mean really 100% true. So at Lee Sports Village, so for those from Lee Sports Village, there is a grass pitch outside between Lee East and the stadium. Now it belongs to Manchester United women at the moment, but it used to be a rugby pitch, and Lee, the Leopards now, but Lee Centurions at the time used to train on there. Now, I don't know why I was there. I think I'd just gone down just to get out of the house, I think, because I was moping about from being released by Sale and whatnot. So I just thought, I'll just get out of the house. And it sounds daft, but I was actually goal kicking. Now, I'm a big boy now. I was a big boy then. But one of the things that I'd always done growing up was goal kicking because of my granddad. Now, then that's my granddad on my mum's side. Now, my granddad always taught me goal kicking every summer. We used to go out on the field and we used to just ping kicks left, right, and centre. And this one day, I was just at Lee Sports Village, just goal kicking. I'd nudged a couple from the sideline. I'd nudged a couple in front. I'd missed a few, and I was just like, X, Y, and Z. Now, in the distance, a couple of blokes were walking over. One of them was the head coach of Lee Centurions at the time and current Salford boss, Paul Rowley. Now, I've known Paul from being a young kid because, to cut a long story short, my dad, one of the first people my dad ever met was, when he came to this country in 1994, was Paul's dad, Alan. Now, Alan set him up over here as soon as he arrived and whatnot, and when he signed for Lee, so my dad, I could say, let me add a bit of context. So my dad played for Lee Centurions, that are now obviously Lee Leopards, and Alan Rowley was the guy who set him up. So he got him sorted with his house and car, etc., and work and whatnot when he wasn't training and all the rest of it. But so I've known Paul from being a young kid, and he walks over and goes, "You all right, young Elliot?" said, yeah, Paul, I'm good, thanks. He said he was looking. He was, I don't know. I'd have to ask him. I'm hoping to get him on the podcast if I can find a contact for him. But he said to me, he said, what are you doing these days in terms of rugby? I said, to be honest, Paul, I'm not doing anything. I said, I've just been released by Sale Sharks. I was there throughout my being at high school, and I'll not repeat what he said, but he said something along the line that, let's just say, forget about them. Why don't you come and sign for us for our under 16 scholarship? And I went, all right, okay. He went, I'll get in contact with your dad. I want you to come down, speak to John Duffy, and we'll get you signed on. I was like, all right, okay. Yeah, sure. And then my mood changed, obviously, because Lee were a championship side at the time, but they were still in the second division of kind of English rugby league. So I'm like, oh my days, this is it. This could be the one. So Paul then sorted it out, and me and my dad went down to the stadium, and we met with John Duffy and I want to say, is it Gary Eccleston? Might have been Gary Eccleston. I might have made that name up, but it was them two. We met with them two, and then lo and behold, I'm training with Lee Centurion's kind of scholarship that we had. So it was a bit mental. It was really mental at the time, and then that was, I just kind of roll with it, and then played a couple of games for him, and then that was it. It was brilliant. Like, I kind of represented my hometown, and then that was it. I was like, oh my God, I've started a journey here. In that team as well was current Hull KR winger Tom Davis as well, so a little bit of a name drop there. So Tom was in that team, he was playing fullback at the time. So yeah, kind of an off chance that me goal kicking at Lee Sports Village ended up signing for Lee under 16s. And then it was towards the end of the season that I'd signed. So then it was like, what are you going to do next? You're going to go on to the 18s. Now, Stuart Littler at the time was the under 18s, and I had to make a decision whether I was to continue training with them or whether it would be a case of me go and play a little bit more rugby, get a bit more game time under my belt, and then come back in, say, a couple of years' time. So that's exactly what I did. I left, I went to college, so I went to Warrington Collegiate. The only one in my school to go there in terms of doing sport, and it was a real eye-opener because I basically did the whole thing solo. I had to make new friends, I had to make my way there, and it was one of the scariest things I've ever done since being that little year 7 who started high school. And yeah, that was a real eye-opener in terms of playing rugby, and I've probably been coached by one of the best coaches I think I've ever been coached by, and I'll tell him this when I see him, I speak to him on the pod, Steve McCormack. What a brilliant coach he was for me and for my development. I went on, once I'd done my 2 years at Warrington, I went on to Wigan and Lee College, now another member of my podcast, Warren Turley. He got me interested about doing the degree course at Wigan and Lee. And then it kind of fitted in quite well with what I was doing at the time in terms of rugby. So I kind of fell quite nicely into that. So yeah, and then finished my degree. I was working part-time with the Centurions Foundation and all the brilliant work that they do. I know they still do brilliant work to this day. And then I got myself into teaching. So got myself sports staff job, and then as a cover supervisor, as an intervention manager, as a PE technician. I did loads of jobs in my first job. And then kind of that was it then. From there, I was kind of in education. And then I'm just going to leave that there. I'm just going to park that to one side for the moment because I want to actually go into becoming a teacher a little bit later on. Now, one bit that everybody wants to know about is the rugby. Now, I've introduced that little bit of a story with Paul Rowley and then the under 18s. I was in, so it was 2013. So 2013, I was playing rugby union. I'd captained Lancashire under 18s, and I was generally playing some half decent rugby union, playing with my mates. And then I get a phone call. I get a phone call from Paul Anderson. Now, my name was obviously, I assume it was still on the books at Lee in terms of someone that had gone away and then come back. So Andor gave me a ring and basically said, "What are you doing this year? Do you want to come on a trial basis for kind of the under 20s / reserves?" Now, I was 17 at the time. I was a bit hesitant at the time, so I was like, So I thought, do you know what? I'll go with it. I'll run with it. A little side story to that as well. So that was whilst I was second year at college, and there were talks about me going training with Warrington under 19s because I was playing quite well for collegiate at the time in terms of the college rugby, and we had a link with Warrington Wolves, so there was chat about that as well, but never materialised. So I then went to Lee, started pre-season November 23 after the World Cup. So I'd been in a World Cup environment. I'd been with the Tongan team throughout the whole of that World Cup, and it was an eye-opener to see what it's really like and what you get to do as a professional rugby league player. So it kind of built me in, and it kind of flipped a switch in my brain, thinking, do you know what? If you want this, you're gonna have to work. And by it, did I work? I grafted for the whole of that pre-season, and I'll never forget the day when Andor turned around. So Paul turned around to me and went, Paul Anderson said, "I want you to sign on. You're not on a trial anymore. You're signing a 1-year deal." And I was like, I'll not say what I've said because I don't want to swear, but I was like, oh my days, that's it. I've signed a 1-year deal at Lee, and that 2014 season, what a season! Now, me and a good friend of mine, Corey Lee. Now, me and Corey obviously were long friends, and we've since been playing at Crossfields together last year and a bit last year and the year before that. And we talk about that team, that 2014 team. Wow, what a team! Like, we had some amazing players in that team. Salford player Chris Hankinson. Chris Hank was unbelievable in that team. Corey, Jamie Tracy, Lewis Foster, Josh Ward, Matt Pendlebury, Cam Pitmore. The list was endless. Even current Centurions player now, Frankie Alton, like Matty Wilkinson. I could literally list the names were endless. Like Ezzy Harper, Sam Bagley. What a team we had, and we were mint. We basically went the full year, and we only lost one game, and the one game we lost, I think we only just lost like 20 points to 18, and we were at home against Halifax, and wow, we were mint that year. We went on and won the league that year so we went and won on the reserves league that year. We beat Sheffield, and it was class. I absolutely loved it. And 2014 into 15 was a bit surreal, to be honest. So we changed from kind of under 20s into reserves. So we had a core squad of players that were sticking it out for the reserves at Lee Centurions. And I'd come back. I'd had obviously my off season. I came back for pre-season in probably the best shape I've ever been in. I was quite. I love my food, but for some reason I just come back and I was just in such good shape, and it was mad. So I thought, oh my god, is this what you meant to do in that? And I trained and again grafted like I did in 2013 to 14, and then Andor again. We was on our way to the field doing a field session, I think it was, And then Andor and Simon Finnegan at the time pulled me to one side and they said, will you do us a massive favour? Will you be the captain this year for the reserves? And I was in shock, to be honest, because I thought, oh my days, this time last year I was on a trial contract. Now I'm going to be the captain of the reserves, and I was looking to try and obviously break through into that first team. And then there was all the hype around Fui signing for Lee, and it just kind of 2015 was just a bit of a mad year in terms of rugby. Probably the best year of rugby I've ever played. 2015, easily one of the best I've ever played. So I played 2 unofficial games for the first team. So during pre-season we had 4 games. So we had I think it was Wigan, North Wales, Keighley, and Oldham. Now the Wigan game and the Keighley game were the proper first team. Because I think Keighley had just come up, or they were in the same league as the first team, and then obviously Wigan being Wigan. So then the other 2 games, the North Wales and the Oldham game, were for us and for any of the kind of like the new signings that had signed. So like I can say I was in. I can say I took the field with Fui and Moi Moi, which I know Fui's like I say, a close friend of our family now, but I took to the field with an NRL superstar. I just think, what in the world? This is madness. And Fui always tells a story of me getting him to England. So me and my dad helped get Fui to Lee, get him to sign in England. I'm going to say this, I was basically the middleman. So Paul Rowley would ask me to ask my dad to ask Fui, and then Fui speak to my dad to speak to me, and I'd speak to Paul. So yeah, it was absolutely mental that year. I then went on and so I played in those 2 games, the North Wales game and the Oldham game. I ended up starting the Oldham game, and I ended up winning man of the match as well, which was literally out of this world. And it was Derek, I think, that actually chose the man of the matches for those games, and for the owner to come and spot me and be like, he's getting my man of the match, I was a bit kind of taken aback, and I was a bit shell shocked actually. I was just like, wow, this is absolutely crazy. So yeah, and Derek looked after my parents as well, put him in his box, and it was mental, honestly mental. 2015 was class. And then I get to June 2015 and I get another phone call off Andor. So it was always one of them. Andor would always text you, but if he rang you, it was something serious. He rang me, he said, I need you at the stadium. I was like, right, okay. He said, we've had a discussion, a family table, and we've decided, well, he was chatting about it with his family, and then he's gone, the club have decided to loan you out. I was like, right, okay. He went, right, you're going to be loaned out to Oldham. I went, Oldham Ruffians? He went, yep, they want you. Do we need a middle? They need a prop forward. And Scott Naylor's asked for you. I was like, okay. So I'd been playing reserve grade for most of the year. I then was stepping up into League One, which was mental. I only played 4 games for Oldham, but the 4, again, they added to my 2015 being some of the best rugby I've ever played. And some of the players in that team were unbelievable. And how nice they were in terms of taking a young kid in and looking after me. So, Adam Clay was brilliant in terms of Adam used to take me hither and everywhere. Lewis Palfrey, Chewy, Dave Hewitt, love Chewy, Gaz Owen, Adam Neal, the Joys, Tompe, Steve Rock. Like the list is endless of the amount of kind of brilliant players. But all these players had been through kind of heartbreak in 2014, so they'd got to the final, ready for promotion, and they lost it in Golden Point. So I'd been brought in, me and another lad. We'd been brought in to kind of bolster the squad and get them over the line in terms of they'd done enough to obviously get to a point where they could get over the line. So yeah, it was absolutely crazy. I think I played 4 games, scored a couple of tries, won the League Leaders Shield for League One up in Oxford. So sorry, down in Oxford. We went with, again, it was quite a not a weakened side, but it was a rested side. So your big guns were rested, like Lewis Powell, Adam Clay, Sam G, George Tyson, all the big guns, Adam Neal. They were all rested for this game, and we then go and we won the game like 60 odd points to 6 or something. It was just mental. And then obviously I didn't make the squad for the final game with the promotion game against Keighley, but we then ended up winning that, and I cherish that League One promotion medal as one of the greatest successes I've had in rugby. And then I move on to North Wales Crusaders now. Anthony Murray, coach at the time, bloke I have a lot of respect for. I signed for Crusaders. Again, I attack pre-season. I attack it hard. I try and put myself in the picture in terms of being there, ready to play and whatnot. But yeah, let's just say North Wales didn't work out. Sorry, I just need a quick drink. Yeah, so I genuinely thought North Wales was going to work. I thought it was going to be the stepping stone to kick in. Now, there was stuff going on off the field. On the field, I got sent out on loan, on a month's loan to Coventry. Now, the Coventry Bears that are now known the Midlands Hurricanes, they were brilliant in terms of looking after me. Again, young kid, I'd only just passed my driving test. Really looked after me. Me and another lad who we went down, and it was brilliant in terms of I got a triple lifetime. So I ended up playing in Toulouse Olympics' first game back in English Rugby League in 2016. I did 4 days in Toulouse, which was brilliant. It was a brilliant trip, and yeah, there were two lads in particular that really looked out for us when I was there. So Matt Reid and Jack Morrison. Now Jack Moores, I know, still plays at Ince Rosebridge, same league as Crossfields now. But yeah, 2 blokes really looked after us when we were there, and I kind of. North Wales Crusaders was probably one of the things that I regret most in terms of rugby, because I think my attitude changed. I think because I'd had such a good year in 2015, I'd won the league with Oldham. I'd played so well for the Centurions. I have to, obviously, I can reflect on it now. It's nearly 10 years ago. I think I was better than what I was. I think I got a bit too big for my boots, to be totally honest with you. And I was thinking I was better than some Super League players that were coming in, and they were on dual registration from Salford. And yeah, I think in my head, I thought I'm better than these blokes. Like, I'm a better player. And I think my attitude kind of let me down on that front. Now, I'd love to try and get Anthony Murray on the podcast to have a chat with him, and because he's obviously an ex-Bedford lad, he's a good mate of my dad's, and I'd love to obviously get his insight into that. But I think upon reflection, looking back at it, I think my attitude probably wasn't in the right place, and that's when I kind of dropped out of kind of professional rugby. I was then a bit, yeah, so I was gutted, and I'll openly admit that, yeah, I was gutted that it didn't work, and I'm gutted that probably I didn't apply myself in the way I should have done. But I can reflect now and listen, I'm happy with what I've done in rugby. Whether although it was so small, so short, I'm happy with what I've done. I can live with the fact that I've done what I've done, and I can move on with my life, knowing that yeah, I gave it a good go, and it just probably wasn't for me. So yeah, now we look at me becoming a teacher. Now, throughout all my post 16 career, whether I was at collegiate, whether I was at Wigan and Lee, whether I was at UClan, I always did voluntary work. That's one bit of advice I would give to any current student of mine, or whether it's a former student of mine that are now in college, university. You've got plenty of time in your hands. Use it. Go and volunteer in something that you want to do. Yeah, so I wanted to become a PE teacher. So I went into my old high school, Bedford, and I was under the mentorship of Rob Drinnan. I couldn't speak to better bloke to be under the mentorship of, because he not only taught me what it was like just to be what it's like to be a teacher, he also taught me what it's like to genuinely put students first. And he was one of the best. And you can ask anyone who has gone through those gates, those green gates at Bedford. Rob Drinnan is the man, and he would always look after you. He would always be the one person that would have your back constantly. But yeah, so he kind of inspired me to then go on and become a teacher. I then went to, so it was just before COVID hit. I had a chat with a great man called Chris Rimmer, who was in my job at the time, and I was having a conversation about teacher training, etc. He said, we don't really do anything for PE, because I didn't want to come out of a job to then come back into a job. He basically said, what would you teach? What would be your second subject? And because of Mr. Wilkinson and what he did for me, and so I said, it'd probably be maths, because whenever I do any cover lessons, maths always seems to be the one that I find most comfortable. So he said, why don't you go and train to be a maths teacher? So lo and behold, I went, yeah, let's go for it. And it's another one of those massive leaps of faith that I took. So then I became a maths teacher, and I did 12 months during COVID. So it was in bubbles. I spent time up at Oakfield and at Goulburn, and it was brilliant in terms of learning from some fantastic, not only maths teachers, but different teachers as well, in terms of how you are with students and the interactions you have and how you build that rapport with students. And it was brilliant. And I've never looked back. I've been teaching maths now for 4 years, and I wouldn't look back. I think, yes, I would love to be a PE teacher, and every time there's a bit of PE cover, I'm more than happy to do it. Although I love to cover some PE lessons every now and again, but I absolutely love my job as a maths teacher, because of the teachers I experienced at high school, the way they made maths so accessible. That's what I want. That's why I love my job. I love them light bulb moments where a student doesn't understand at the beginning, and then you can see that penny drop, or that light bulb moment where they've grasped what I'm talking about, and they get it, and they can crack on and do a lot of questions, or they can explain to somebody else how they do it. And I just thought, that's what teaching is to me. Like, teaching is, I've had to think about this. Like, what is teaching to me? Like, teaching to me is not just about the academic side of things. Yes, that's what we're there to do. We're there to make students better at our subject. So anybody who comes into my room, they're there to get better at maths. but I'm also there to make. I want these students to become better people because they're going to be going out into that world and they'll have no concept of what's happening in that world. So I want them to be the best version of themselves. I want them to be the best. And I want them, and I've said this to my classes before, like, no matter what I do, no matter what happens, I want you to be the best version of yourself. I want you to be successful in maths. I want you to be successful people when you leave these four walls of school. If I can play any part in that, any role of that, that would be, it's a big tick from me. So yeah, I absolutely love my job, and yeah, I think I'm pretty good at it, but there's always room for development, and I'm always wanting to learn. I'm always wanting to get better. So I'm going to finish off this round. I'm going to finish off this podcast with my quick fire round as always. So it's 10 questions. I'm going to read the question, and then I'm going to have a bit of time to think about it, and it's just going to be either a one word or a short answer. Okay, a couple of sentences. Now, first things first, sweet or savoury? Well, I love my food, so I can't. I think Danny mentioned it on the podcast a few weeks ago, that it depends what mood I'm in. Like some days I could come home and I could murder a bit of ice cream or a chocolate bar. There are other days where I walk through that door and I think, oh yeah, I could easily have a piece of pizza or like a bit of Chinese or something like that. So it varies really. It really does vary. Number two, hero. Now it says hero, but I'm gonna put heroes. So I've got quite a few heroes. So growing up, two heroes I definitely had were my dad. Now, my dad and my granddad. Now, my dad was obviously professional player, played at Lee, played at Barrow, Swinton, Workington, played for Tonga in 1995 in the World Cup. That was my yardstick. That's what I wanted to become. I wanted to become that international. I wanted to become that person. And obviously, look, I don't want to go back over it, but he was always the one that he wanted the best out of me, and he wanted me to be the best. My granddad was a hero in a different way. So my granddad would always. I always say this, that my brute strength and my kind of my core strength, my core skills, they come from my dad, and I think my other skills, so my kicking, my long passing, my offloading game, etc. I think that comes from my granddad, because he just wanted me to work on it. He wanted me to work on those skills. He wanted me to become better at them skills, and yeah. So those two were always the two that made me want to be the best. And then in terms of these are celebrities or who I think are celebrities, so Johnny Wilkinson, loved him growing up in his pursuit of perfection. Sonny Bill Williams. Now, I loved watching Sonny Bill in terms of the flair, the X Factor, the big hits, the one hand over the head offload. Now, I'm not as tall as Sonny Bill, but wow, he could. I'd love to offload, and he was such a good player. Number three was Sam Burgess. Now, I love Sam Burgess in terms of his toughness, his tenacity, his drive to win, and I can definitely say, if you can find it on YouTube, the Slamming Sam documentary. What a documentary that is, by the way. And through 2013, he was that time in the NRL, he was brilliant. Travel to the past or travel to the future. I don't know. I think I want to say travel to the future. I think the only reason I want to travel to the future is because I want to see how well my son's doing in the future. I want to see how well he's doing and what he loves doing. I want to see what he's doing in the future. I want to see if I've been a good enough dad, a good enough role model to see him go and succeed. And number 4, the job I would love to do if I wasn't being a teacher, and I'm going to forget about being a rugby player. The one job I actually wanted to do, it's really daft, it's my love for English language. I wanted to do in sports journalism. I wanted to be a sports journalist. I wanted to be a sports reporter for BBC Sport, for Sky Sports News. Like, I wanted to be that type of job. Hopefully, this podcast decides to blow up. I might get a job out there. Sky, if you're watching, I'm ready. I know my stuff about rugby. I know my stuff about rugby union. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about, I think. But yeah, that's all I always wanted to do with sports journalism. Number 5, cats or dogs? Definitely dogs. 100% dogs. And I'll probably get hate for this, but I don't like cats. I had a bad experience with cats when I was a kid. I was only about 6 or 7, and one of my dad's mates, old mates, he had a cat, and it decided to scratch me in the face, and I hated cats. I think I tried kicking it out of anger. But yeah, dogs 100%. Dream holiday, number 6. Oh, dream holiday, Australia. Being in Australia, specifically being in Australia for something like what's going to happen on Wednesday, so Wednesday the 9th, State of Origin, Game 3, decider, Queensland versus New South Wales. That'd be the dream. That, and for me personally, that would be the dream. I think a dream family holiday is probably, obviously Cole will be a bit older, but the Maldives. Love the Maldives. It just looks stunning. Being in one of them hotel rooms that's on the sea, and it just looks mint. Number 7, best ground I've played at. Just 2. Number 1, Leigh Sports Village, because it's my hometown team and it's my hometown ground that I played at. Fortunate enough to play a few games there. And the other one is Kingston Park up in Newcastle. Now, being a massive, massive Johnny Wilkinson fan, being able to play on the ground where he ruled the roost in the what's now the Gallagher Premiership was a bit surreal. One of the mad things that I've loved Johnny Wilkinson for so long. To go and play on one of his home grounds was mega, so good. Number 8, 100 duck-sized Elliots or 1 Elliot-sized duck. Who would I rather face? It's 100% the 100 duck-sized Elliots, because I've got a glass jaw, and if I just boot all the ducks, they'll be gone in no time. Thanks to my granddad for my right foot, my kicking right foot. Number 9, one piece of advice I live by. Don't count the days, make the days count. So that's pretty apt for me at the minute in terms of I'm trying to not count the days. It's hard when I've got a holiday booked with my family, and we're on the countdown now to the summer for school. But yeah, don't count the days, make the days count. That's one piece of advice I live by. And number 10, one wish. If I had one wish, what would it be? It's very simple. I'm going to end on a nice note. It's eternal happiness for my wife and my little son. So if Ebbs and Koa had eternal happiness, I'd be happy. I'd be a very, very happy man. And that's it, folks. That is it for episode 3 of Loose Lips with Liku. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to this podcast. I hope you've enjoyed getting to know me a little bit more. And I really, really hope that very, very soon in the coming weeks we'll have a couple more guests on. So the guests you were looking for were, I didn't actually get to mention him this time, so Mickey Hyam, former Warrington Lee Saints Wigan player. Steve McCormack, my old tutor, who was in the he was Scotland Rugby League head coach. Warren Turley, Super League official, and my old tutor. And then hopefully, it's the big ask, but Paul Rowley, current Salford boss. Hopefully we get him on the podcast. Hopefully we get all 4 of them on the podcast, but I know they're very busy men. So thank you. Thank you for coming, clicking on the video. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Keep sharing it. Let's share the love. And hopefully we'll get more episodes out very, very soon. Thank you for listening, guys. Take it easy.